This is Hidden Killers Live with Tony Brueski, Stacy Cole, and Todd Michaels.
All right. This is a case that we have been covering for quite some time. A lot of people have been covering for quite some time. And we're going to dig deeper into it again today because it needs some attention. The Ellen Greenberg case, as you've probably been following around and along for a while, you know, the parents of Ellen Greenberg are supposed to be getting this investigation reopened, looking at it a little bit further, deeper down. That's at least what the courts have said. Have the authorities followed through? The investigators followed through on any of that, any of the follow-up, any of the, yes, we're going to look at this further? Of course they haven't, because it's Philadelphia. And that's how it works in Philadelphia. When you don't want something to happen, it doesn't happen. So for those of you new to this case, welcome. This is going to blow your mind. And I want to say first, before we jump into it, we're going to hear a lot of things. We're going to hear a 911 call from her ex-fiancé. We're going to hear a lot of evidence that doesn't look all that positive for her ex-fiancé. But I need to say her ex-fiancé has never been charged with anything. He's living his life. This was many, many years ago. He's a TV producer, has a family. Again, never been charged with any sort of crime. So in no way, shape, or form, through any of the evidence that we're presenting today, are we suggesting that he in any way is the murderer of Ellen Greenberg. We're going to let you guys make that decision. We're going to let you take the evidence and in your mind go, this seems completely implausible. Nothing to see here. What are you guys talking about? That's crazy. Or, this is weird. But I just want to make that very clear off the bat. Samuel Goldberg never charged with anything, nor are we saying that he has done anything. Everything here is alleged. There's your disclaimer at the front. But we're going to talk about the facts of this case, whether anyone likes it or not, because this case needs to be examined. So to begin, this story starts where snow is coming down in Philadelphia. The kind that cancels school and buys you a rare quiet afternoon, a nor'easter to be exact, meaning it's not just a little couple flurries. This is a big snowstorm, one of the biggest that they had in quite some time. And Ellen Greenberg, who is an elementary teacher, does what any 27-year-old teacher might do on a surprise snow day. She heads home, sends a couple texts about relaxing, starts a snack on the counter. Nothing about the day feels strange or shows a woman spiraling. No note, no digital breadcrumbs pointing to a plan, just life mid-stride. Okay? And then everything breaks. Her fiancé, Sam Goldberg, says he leaves for the gym around 4:45 p.m. and comes back an hour later to a swing bar latch set from the inside. And we'll take a look at that evidence in just a little bit. And instead of calling 911 when he can't get into the apartment, because he's there, this is his story, is that he gets there, and I'm paraphrasing this, tries to open the door. It's latched from the inside. He can't get in. So he starts sending a flurry of texts at 4:45 when he can't get in to Ellen. Hello, open the door. And you better have an excuse. You better have an excuse. For what?
Yeah, she's dead.
For what? Minutes tick by. Irritation reads louder than panic. And when the door is finally forced open, Ellen is found on the kitchen floor, seated, a 10-inch knife buried to the hilt of her chest, and a white towel in her hand. Blood on her shirt, 20 stab wounds, 10 to the back of her neck and head, 11 unexplained bruises in various stages of healing. No hesitation marks at all. So let that sink in. Let's just pause there for a second, everyone, because I know, Todd, this might be the first time you're absorbing this story. Mm-hmm. I know, Stacy, we've talked about it a little bit here and there. What's your reaction when you hear someone stabbed 20-some times? Do you go to homicide or suicide? What's the natural reaction?
I don't mean to laugh. I don't mean to laugh. So forgive me. I know that sounds really crass, but it's laughable to think that this woman killed herself.
Yes.
Because let's just give her 5 stab wounds. You know, she's depressed. She is feeling like I can't go on anymore. Mm-hmm. Let's just grant her 5 that she could get through.
Sure.
In the chest and the neck and the head. So how do you account for the other 15?
How do you account for one?
But I told you, let's give her a little grace. Let's give her 5, None of this story makes sense. There is no way in my brain that no, that's not what this was.
Number one, it's not what it was. It's a physical impossibility. Yeah. Because what they're asking you to believe is that the woman came back from the dead and stabbed herself, because some of the stab wounds were post-mortem.
Well, right. Because maybe she was turned into a zombie after all of this. Yes. And said, I've got more to do.
This might be the first example of a zombie coming back to life, if in fact this is a suicide. In fact, it would have to be. We have a real zombie here, if we're to believe the official report from the Philadelphia police and the medical examiner, is that Ellen Greenberg is the first documented zombie to come back from the dead and continue to stab herself in places that she couldn't, because she would have been completely disabled by the severing of her spine.
You think?
In the areas where the knife impeded her flesh into her body, into her spinal column, it would have made movement damn near impossible.
Correct.
And here's another fun fact. People don't tend to stab themselves.
That's what I was going to say. That's if you're going to off yourself, stabbing would not be the one that most people would choose.
No.
Guns, maybe you slit your wrists or something like that. Sorry to say that out loud, but stabbing yourself?
Yeah.
Come on.
No, it's it's just facts. It is what it is. And females stabbing themselves. Add that to the mix.
I was going to add the female component, because I think if it tends to be that men are a little bit more violent in this type of situation.
Well, it's not even the violence. It's the vanity of it.
True.
Statistically, women are not going to partake in a suicide that harms them physically in terms of looks, if you will. This was not that. This was, she stabbed herself in the head, and the neck, and half of these stab wounds in the back.
Again, ever since we came up with this story, I'm sorry. That was very bad phrasing. Ever since that we addressed this story years ago, I even grabbed a butter knife in my kitchen and tried to get the same trajectory. And I'm very flexible. I practice yoga. I can't get back to where she went. They've got a model showing exactly how this knife impacted her neck. And you can't get that angle with an elbow. It has to come from behind.
Yeah, it's again, all these things very impossible. And that's why I want to just kind of establish off the bat as we kind of work through this, because what I'm going to say, how I'm going to explain this is how it's been tried to be explained by the medical examiner and such. And there's been a lot of walk back over the years too, and we'll get to all that. We're also going to get to the 911 call in just a few moments here. By the next morning, the medical examiner called the injuries what they suggest: a homicide. So the medical examiner comes and says, it's a homicide. I mean, a 5-year-old could have told you it was a homicide.
Right.
That should have really frozen the scene in time. I mean, this was a crime scene that he walked into. Was it ever handled like a crime scene when someone is stabbed 20 times? Not at all. Not at all. It should have been locked down, lit up with forensic lights, canvas, neighbors, fingerprints on everything. Instead, the narrative veers very, very fast. Police start talking suicide. The apartment is not treated like a murder scene. Cleanup is authorized. Yeah, professional cleanup crews are allowed to come in
right away.
The fiancé and his uncle, who's a high-powered legal individual in Philadelphia, they managed to get a cleanup crew in there, and the high-power individual takes all the digital stuff, all the computers, all that gone. because he wants to make sure it's safe for her. He does return it. They do request it back. But chain of custody, you can't do that sort of thing. And he knows better than that. A lot of weird inconsistencies here. Within weeks under pressure and after consultations, even those involved in the later struggle to document the manner of death flips to suicide. So because of the pressure, the police, the behind the curtain conversations, medical examiner is essentially pressured into changing the ruling to suicide. The public is told to accept what the wounds do not explain. It's not just a story about a locked door. It's a story about the first 48 hours, how choices made between January 26 and February 1st, 2011 set the trajectory for everything that followed. A family blindsided, a city divided, and a case file that still doesn't reconcile with the physics of the human body. So we're going to go through all of this, and I'd love to see your thoughts in the comment section on YouTube. Search Hidden Killers with Tony Brueski. That's where we're at if you want to comment on YouTube. There's a lot here. Texts, timeline, the door hardware, the autopsy, the about face, point by point. We're going to be asking a lot of questions, but let's start on Wednesday, January 26th, the day that Ellen actually died. So she's there. It's the blizzard. School shuts down early. Ellen, 27, first grade teacher. She heads home. Text a friend. She's going to relax. Again, no sign of crisis in the calls, texts, anything like that. Just a snowy day. Doesn't really feel like someone that's planning to off themselves, but that's not truly always a sign. A lot of times that is very silent, and sometimes people don't know when that is going to take place. Her fiancé, Sam Goldberg, says he leaves for the gym at 4:45. He comes back about half an hour later, finds the swing bar lock engaged from inside. Again, this is his story. Keep this in mind. This is what he tells everyone, and this is what a lot of the decisions are based on. Simply someone stating what only they can claim, but can't really back up with actual evidence, other than this is my eyewitness testimony. So instead of calling 911, that's when we get the text. Hello, open the door. You better have an excuse. All of that. Sam later tells police he talked to a guard at the apartment, then forced the door. Again, all part of the official story. Here's the thing that's come out in the last year or two. The guard that was there said he wasn't there. Said that never happened. I wouldn't go up there with him. I wasn't helping him get the door open. That part of the story, he said, is not true. Made up, if you will. Now, Sam's story has stayed the same. Sam hasn't really talked at all about much of this to any sort of extent. He kind of just disappeared into the ether after this, never to be heard from again, living a life and, apparently not a lot of concern for finding justice for the woman that he was about to get married to. I guess to each their own. Some people walk away really easily. But in this case, the guy that was supposedly there, witnessing this, able to back up his story, says, no, that story never happened. Why didn't anyone realize that the guy that's part of the story wasn't part of the story? Because there wasn't an investigation. So what Sam told people is what went down on the record, and that's where it stopped. Nobody went to go and say, were you there? He says this, never looked at all. That door that was forced open, we'll take a look at that photo in a little bit, and you tell me if that's the evidence of a door jamb being broken open. Doesn't really quite look like it. So I want to begin with a 911 call. Everybody reacts to trauma differently. Have you guys ever had to make a 911 call? Have you ever been in a situation where it's like, holy shit, stuff's hitting the fan. You have to You have to react in some way, shape, or form. How have you guys been in those situations if you've ever had them?
Todd, go ahead, because I was an EMT, so I've seen both sides where you're the caller and you're the respondent.
I literally, it was just a time when I was on driving and I saw an accident in front of me with a vehicle that went through a red light, got slammed really hard by a semi, and it was not a good outcome for that individual. And I got on the phone, and I know that I was kind of crazy and huffing and puffing and not able to really, speak well and all that because I just seen some crazy stuff. But I've done it, and yeah.
And that's someone you didn't know.
Right. That's somebody I did not know.
Yep. Stacy?
Yeah. As an EMT, we had seen lots and lots of families who have called 911, and you get there about 5 minutes later and they are frantic. They are beside themselves. They can't focus. They can't think. Their train of thought is just scattered, absolutely scattered. They don't have a train of thought that makes sense.
Yeah. Well, here's the 911 call. This is Sam calling when he gets into the apartment. And I don't know how long he was in there for, because some of the things he says don't seem to really line up later, but we'll get to that. Just take a listen. Take a listen. This is the fiancé discovering his fiancé with 20 stab wounds, but doesn't really realize she stabbed at first. Take a listen.
Help! I need everything out. I just walked into my apartment. My fiance's on the floor with blood everywhere.
What is the address?
4601 Flat Rock Road. Please come help now.
4601
Flat Rock Road.
Is it the house or apartment?
Oh no! Oh no! It's an apartment. Please hurry, please.
Where is she bleeding from?
I don't know. I can't tell. She's.
No, sir, you have to calm yourself down in order to get you some help.
I'm sorry. I don't know. I'm looking at her right now. I can't see anything. There's nothing broken. She's bleeding. Ellie.
You don't know where she's bleeding from? Can't see
Ellie.
where the blood's coming from?
I think her head. I think she hit her head, I think. But it's everywhere.
Okay, so
it's everywhere.
She might have fallen. Do you know what happened?
She may have slipped. There's blood on the table. Her face is a little purple.
Okay, hold on for rescue for her. Stay on the phone.
Pause for a second.
I went downstairs to go work out. I came back up. The door was latched. My fiance's inside. She wasn't answering. So after about a half hour, I decided to break it down. I see her now just on the floor.
Let's pause for a second here.
Okay, is she breathing? Look at her chest. I need you to calm down, and I need you to look at her chest. I really don't think she is.
Pause.
Listen to me. Someone's on the way. Look at her chest. Is she flat on her back?
She's on her back. So I bring her.
Look at her chest and tell me if it's going up and down, up and down.
I don't see her moving.
Okay, do you know how to do CPR?
I don't.
Okay, I can tell you.
There you go.
Could you hear me, Todd?
He can't hear you.
I can hear you now. Go ahead.
Okay. I wanted to pause for a little bit here in this. Reaction so far.
It feels like there's been a story that's been rehearsed.
Oh, yes. Yep. Completely. Because I'm picturing what he's saying in my mind, and I'm feeling myself elevating with stress.
Right,
and if I saw somebody that I loved laying on the floor, I would be screaming, I would be bawling, I would be hysterical. I wouldn't be telling you that I went down to the gym and that the door was locked.
And what did I say about the train of thought? I've walked into homes where somebody has collapsed and they're on the floor and somebody is doing CPR. And as the paramedics arrive, nothing makes sense. You can't put together a thought. All they're doing is, I came in there on the floor. Oh my God. What's going on? Can you save them? Help. I mean, just this frantic, well, here's what I did today before I came in and saw them lying on the floor and I might lose my spouse or fiance for the rest of my life. No, it's, oh my God, do something.
Mm-hmm. You're not setting up your alibi.
Differently. Right.
Yeah.
You never heard about the alibi. I mean, it was just, I came in and they were on the floor. They give you like 30 seconds, a 30-second scenario of what happened. Mm-hmm. So when you're trying to say to them, well, what led up to this? Do you know what they were doing? No, they can't think. They can't give you those details because their brain isn't working that way right now.
Everybody reacts to trauma differently.
Correct.
I'm playing the devil's advocate here. But obviously, and again, Sam never charged with anything, and we're not saying he had anything to do with this. Being very clear about that.
It just feels different.
It just feels a little different. Feels a little strange, a little odd that this is the reaction. I also, when people are in panic mode, when your brain is in that state and you're like he was at the beginning, which felt a little, I don't know, rehearsed. It did to me. That's my conjecture on it. Maybe it wasn't. Maybe it was. This is how he reacts to things. To then flip to, I don't know. Maybe she hit her head. It was a very quick up and down. But again, everyone reacts to trauma differently. Let's keep listening.
Don't forget, she's got a knife firmly planted in her chest at this moment, too.
And there's that. Let's continue on.
What to do, okay, until they get there. I want you to keep her phone.
Oh, God.
Hello?
Yeah, hi, okay.
Are you willing to do CPR with me over the phone until they get there?
I have to, right?
Okay, so get her flat on her back, bare her chest, okay? You want to rip her shirt off, okay?
I have
Kneel
to,
down
right?
by her side.
Oh, my God. Allie, please.
Listen, you can't freak out, sir, because you
Okay, I'm trying not to. Her shirt won't come off. It's a zipper.
Rip
Oh,
it
my
off.
God. She stabbed herself.
Where?
She fell with a knife. Oh, no, her knife's sticking out.
What?
There's a knife sticking out of her heart.
She fell on a knife?
I guess so. I don't know where she fell on it. I don't know.
Okay, well, don't touch it.
Okay, so I just let her down. Here now. I mean, what do I do?
No, I mean, you can't. If the knife is at her chest, it's going to be kind of hard for you to do CPR at this time.
Oh, no. Oh, my goodness. Okay.
Police wish operator. 277.
Let's
Is someone
pause.
coming here?
Yes, they are. You said 46.
I don't know what to do with this information. This is where I check out.
I have to, don't I? I'm going to tell you how to do CPR. Well, I guess I have to, don't I? That's more than a questionable response when the 911 operator says, let me help you do CPR and your dying fiance over here. I have to, don't I? I guess I have to, don't I?
You don't have any clean clothes for tomorrow. You have to do laundry. I guess I have to, don't I? That's the kind of response
Yes.
that gets.
McDonald's is closed. Looks like you got to go through the Burger King drive-thru. I guess I have to, don't I? Everything's going to taste flame grilled, including the soda. She fell on a knife.
Again, as we always say, conjecture, but even the 911 operator is like, what the hell is, what am I dealing with here? Like, because like you said, Stacy, she's probably dealt with a lot of manic people who have just realized something horrible happened to a loved one. And this does not, I'm guessing, does not seem like that to her.
No, I've never seen a response like this. When you walk into a situation where you're watching somebody's world fall apart, because that's what's happening when somebody has collapsed or is dead, but they're on with 911 and the paramedics are there and they're praying that you can do something for them. This is not the reaction you're getting.
Who falls on a knife?
Well, and again, I always
lodges directly into your heart.
Yeah.
You guys, this is where I always come back to, and I only say this because I kind of grew up with this thought process. Like, you know, if a woman was battered and she had a black eye and she was wearing the sunglasses, didn't want anybody to know, and I fell down the stairs, you know, and it's like, well, nobody believes that shit. Okay. But if you don't want to talk about it, we won't talk about it. Okay, fine. Well, that's exactly what this was. Like she fell down the stairs. She fell into the knife.
Even more unbelievable. I mean, and she fell on a knife. And the descriptive part of this, directly into her heart.
How would he know that?
How would you know that?
How would he know that?
You don't know, like, if it missed it or if it's like at an angle, or there's a lot of ways where you would say there's a knife in her chest, not directly in her heart.
Also, and again, just guessing here, but if I came upon somebody I loved who was lying on the ground, possibly bleeding, I may take a little bit closer look at what the hell happened so that when I called, I knew that there was a knife sticking out of the chest. I mean, I realize you're frantic and stuff, but you do take a moment to look at the situation and try and figure out what happened, because that's what your brain wants to do.
That's what a sane human being would do. And that's the thing with this. If you walk into this situation, you wouldn't just immediately call 911. You wouldn't just see her on the ground over there and go, let me call 911. You'd rush over. You would.
If you could help.
What's going on here? Is there something I can do immediately rather than waiting for 911 to show up 20 minutes later or whenever that happens? And by the way, there's a blizzard going on, so it might take a little time. You would be right there. You'd be looking at the situation. Well, can you get her shirt off? Oh, she's got a zipper on. You notice the zipper before the knife protruding from her chest?
Thank you for that, because I picked up on that as well. He's more in tune to what her attire looks like than the Halloween knife sticking out of her chest.
It feels more like that wasn't part of the plan. I don't think he planned. I shouldn't say that, because I don't think he planned anything. I don't think he has anything to do with this. I don't know any. I mean, I would say if you're in that situation, it looks very, very suspicious if you did plan this, and I'm not saying he did, but if you were to have planned this and you call 911 and you kind of think, okay, here's how I'm going to spin this and it's going to go smooth and no one's going to ask questions. Somehow no one did. And you're not expecting the 911 operator to say, we're going to try and do CPR here, which you should expect they're going to say that to you. But he seemed a little thrown off by that. Like, I suppose I have to, don't I? Well, yes. Why would you be hesitant on that unless you already knew there was a knife in her chest? But the way that this call goes is a few moments after she says, you should do CPR. I have to, don't I? Oh my God, there's a knife in her chest. The order to the reaction doesn't make any sense. If you already knew there was a knife in her chest, you would have said that to the 911 operator. You would have a moment of shock after the fact that you can't do CPR because there's a knife in her chest. You could have said that right away. I can't. There's a knife in her chest. But this discovery comes later after the initial hesitation of not wanting to do CPR on the woman he's engaged to, who, by the way, her ring is up on the counter.
Okay, now that doesn't sound like a break-in, and she fought back, because why would you leave the ring?
Well, and look, this story, if you really, really dig into it, we don't have time in an hour to go through all of the idiosyncrasies of this entire insane story. She had been having some mental health problems, and that was documented. But it was normal stuff: anxiety, depression, things like that almost all of us deal with. And then that was thrown into the mix of, well, she was anxious, she had depression, must have killed herself. She had been very stressed, according to a lot of friends, not herself as of late. Many people saying that that's not always just the results of anxiety and depression. And why is she having anxiety and depression? Is it situational? Is it something that she has a pattern, a history of, where this comes on, regularly, every year, seasonally, whatever? What's going on there? She seemed to be sort of out of sorts to a lot of people, but also not suicidal. She was working at trying to just elevate herself, like we all do when we're feeling down, of trying to get yourself better. Again, not suicidal. So this is all thrown into the mix in the greater details of the story. Let's continue on with the 911 call.
01 Flat Rock, right?
Yes.
Okay, someone's on the way, and the knife is still inside?
Wait, so what?
The knife is still inside of her?
Yes, I didn't take it out.
Is it her chest, or what area?
It's in her chest. It looks like it's right in her heart.
Okay, someone's on the way out there. Okay, just get.
Oh my God!
How old is she?
She's 27.
27, and there's no sign of life at all. Like, pinch her under her arm.
No, please don't be. What?
Pinch her under her arm and tell me if she responds to pain.
She's Ellie. She's not. Her arm and her hands are still warm. I don't know what that means, but there's blood everywhere. I mean,
I know, but you can't. And the knife is still inside of her. How far? Can you see how far it went in?
it looks pretty deep.
Okay.
It looks it's a long knife.
Don't touch anything. Yeah, don't touch anything. Okay.
I'm not
How do you know how long it is? It's
I
in
can't
her.
believe this stuff.
So wait, it was just you there with her?
We're the only ones here.
And she ran in the door. You said latched it shut.
No, I went downstairs to work out, and when I came back up, the door was latched. Like it was, it wasn't like it was, it was like locked from the inside, and I'm yelling. So
Do you hear how calm he just became?
Yeah.
Yeah. Because he had to
Again,
go back to the story.
He's got to get his story right?
That's what it feels like.
And again, he hasn't been charged with anything. Innocent until, all that stuff. He hasn't been charged. But I'm concerned at how he just shifted gears.
Yeah. Hey, some people in very traumatic situations are able to kind of compartmentalize and move things around. That must be what's going on, right? Must be. Let's keep listening.
Was your house broken into?
No.
So there's no sign of a break-in?
No sign of a break-in at all. I mean, there will be when you get here because I had to break the latch, but to get in.
Okay.
Said that a lot.
Yeah.
There you go.
Said that a lot. Is that the end of it?
That was where it ended.
Oh gosh, I thought that went longer than that.
Yeah, it's only 4 minutes.
Okay. So that is the that really is the big piece of that phone call. Is what we heard right there.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
And again, I'm going to say it. He hasn't been charged with anything.
Yeah.
Is there any way that these two had a fight and she had the door latched?
Well, that's the story.
But I mean it is the story. It's not the story.
Well, the story is not that there was any sort of fight, but the story is that the door was latched from the inside. That was, I think, what is being viewed as whoever did this. It's a pretty strong alibi if the door is latched from the inside, right?
Yes, I'm going back to the ring being on the counter. Did she end things with him?
We don't know the answer to that.
Why do you take your ring off? I mean, maybe to do dishes. Some people do.
Some people do. Yeah.
I never did.
There could be plausible explanations. Just because, I or you don't do something this way doesn't mean other people don't. And it doesn't mean it's wrong or suspicious. It's just a different way of doing things. So you have all these little circumstantial pieces that could point to very innocent, normal things. Oh, by the way, there was 2 knives used in the stabbing. So
because you want to switch knives when you're dealing with.
You got to make sure you're getting those cuts in.
Yeah,
you
right.
really got to make sure.
Yeah, that one's really dull. I should have sharpened that one. Let me grab a different one while I'm, no.
So the door obviously is a big piece of this case that he got there. He broke that door down. Now, if anyone has ever lived in an apartment or in your house or been in a hotel, you know what those latches are like, the little latches that swing over. And if you were to be able to get into the room, one of those pieces is coming off the wall. It's either going to be the piece that's affixed to the frame, or it's going to be the piece that's attached to the door. You're not going to be able to break that door open and have one of those pieces really still remain. If you're doing what you said, that you kicked that door open, you broke that door open in some way, shape, or form, there's going to be a lot of damage. There's probably a big chunk of wood out, and that piece is going to be on the ground or ripped down. Here's what the door actually looked like. There's your broken, damaged door. And if you look really, really closely on the door itself, the nails are kind of pulled a little bit out of the door end of things, which again, I find to be a little bit odd, because I don't know. I've never tested this. It's just my own observation to be completely off, but I would almost think that maybe it would be the other piece that would be more ripped off of the door than the piece that's on the door itself.
That's what I was thinking too.
Yeah.
Neither piece are ripped off. It looks like it's just kind of like pushed a little bit, and it kind of ripped a little bit of the door itself, the whatever the fiber board of the door is made out, but it is still very much affixed. You wouldn't have been able to open that door from the outside. I don't see any way, shape, or form how you would have opened that door from the outside if it was still affixed in the way that it is right now.
Seems pretty impossible.
I mean, I could be wrong. Maybe someone did. I mean, but the story that it was latched from the inside, that is a very strong alibi, if it's true. Again, the only person we're relying on this information for, and the only thing investigators are basing their reason not to investigate this as a murder on, is the account from the fiancé. Have you ever heard of any other murder case? Oh, this is not a murder case. This is a suicide case. Have you ever heard of any case, ever, where the significant other's alibi has a lot of holes in it and is just completely believed to be fact, no matter what? And they're able to go in and take evidence out. They're able to basically just flush the investigation down the toilet right away. I'm sure there's cases like this where this has happened, but none that have obviously ever made it to court or been prosecuted because they get stopped in their tracks. This is what we're witnessing, is a case that was stopped directly in its tracks. But thanks to Ellen's parents, who are tirelessly saying this is insane, we're seeing all the details of this. And that's where the investigation has gone back and forth so many times over the years of, well, the lack of investigation, really, just a fight to investigate. That's all they're asking for. They're just saying, let's take a look at this, please, because this doesn't add up. This doesn't make any sense. And it doesn't.
No.
Just from the 911 call and how odd that really was.
Yeah.
You would think some sort of investigation would take place because it was just not normal. The fact that there's two knives, the fact that this was stabbing, the fact that, the door seems a little off for breaking in again, just looking at it and, being able to do a few things around my own home, I would not guess that somebody tried to break that door in and actually got in. It still looks like it would have held enough that he could not get that door open.
Correct.
Even the medical examiner, all these years later, has come back and said, yeah, I think I was wrong.
Thanks for that.
Now, they're not licensed in this state anymore. The fact that they're saying it aloud really does absolutely nothing other than it puts another person from back in the day when this happened all those years ago saying, yeah, I was wrong. But it doesn't change anything. It doesn't go back and change the report. That has to be done in a very different path. And that's what her parents have been trying to do. I've had the parents on this show before. I've had their private investigator on this show before. And the parents aren't even out there saying Sam did it. They're not arguing that. They're not out there pointing fingers. They're just saying, can we please look at this? Because this doesn't make any sense. And at every turn and pass, it's denied, it's blocked. It's always something that comes in the way of anything ever taking place in terms of any sort of investigation into this case.
It's an absolute travesty that the police work wasn't done. I mean, what about fingerprinting, dusting for fingerprints?
Oh, would you like to talk about that? So
yeah,
you would think someone has a knife protruding from their chest. Maybe you want to make sure it's them that did it. Should we take a look at the knife? Should we take a look at whose fingerprints are actually on the damn thing? They did not even fingerprint the knife. Either of them. They didn't fingerprint the scene. So when it's been argued that, there hasn't been any evidence to point at this person or that person. There's no evidence because the evidence was never gathered. And at this point, quite honestly, I don't know that you were ever going to have enough evidence to go back and convict anyone of any of this.
Do either of you know? And it's possible you don't. If suicide is suspected, do they not do any investigating at all? Is it just a done deal, or do they kind of look at some stuff just to make sure things are right?
They typically rule things out to make sure that it was a suicide.
Mm-hmm. The problem is here, they ruled everything out so quick that they never continued with any sort of investigation. Typically, you would investigate until someone says stop, which they did. I mean, that's literally what happened. It's just someone said stop way before anyone should have actually said stop.
Yeah.
I mean, go ahead.
There should be a checklist of things that you do when somebody has died. And I feel like they just checked everything off and went, oh, we didn't do it. Again, the fingerprinting, I think, would have been a really important thing to do. This happened in 2011. So, there weren't Ring cameras. There weren't things like that. So you don't have surveillance to look into. You don't have.
No, you had surveillance to look into.
Well,
you didn't have a Ring camera in this case, but there was a building camera.
But there weren't cameras inside their apartment. I mean, I've got two cameras running in my apartment right now. But there wasn't, I don't think there was Amazon Alexa that you could go back and hear what happened.
No, none of that existed.
So, there are things that they couldn't have done back then, but they didn't even do the bare minimum here.
And that's the big problem. I mean, this is a self-reported timeline with so many holes in it. I mean, it just blows your mind. It blows your mind that this is even a conversation anyone is having with the evidence that exists for at least looking at this. I mean, the whole premise of this was a suicide is based on Sam's self-reported story. The physical evidence of her death, of the crime, which is not considered a crime, contradicts the whole damn thing. I mean, the lock doesn't prove what he claimed at all. The wound pattern screams homicide. I mean, it physically, it doesn't scream it, it proves it. That's what I'm sick of the verbiage in stories like this where, well, it points, it doesn't point, it proves it. It's not an if. If someone's spine is severed, it's severed. It's not a if it is. The knife went through an area that would have rendered her immobile.
It's like being kind of pregnant. Either you are or you're not.
Yeah. There's no ifs, ands, or buts here in so much of this. The medical examiner, they called it right initially a homicide, but then somehow it was flipped around. So what the hell happened and why the hell has no one looked into this deeper? And I don't know. Obviously, like we said, he's never been charged with anything. I'm not saying he did it. But why was this not looked at any deeper?
We just got a question. This is a good question. I'm not sure if we know the answer. Didn't Sam call his uncle an attorney before he called 911?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's all that too. I'm trying to because I've covered this case for so long and there's so many little pieces here and there, and I tried to have them all ready when we went on today. But yeah, there's that too. So before 911 was called, when he couldn't get into the apartment, calls the attorney. The attorney uncle. What should I do? How should I handle this? We don't know what was said in those phone calls. But that seems rather odd. I think you might be calling 911 first if you can't get in there and you're concerned that your fiance might be suicidal. But no, remember, you better have a good excuse. A good excuse for what? For locking your ass out? Maybe there's a reason. Oh, but wait. I don't think she locked him out. I don't think that was part of ever the damn story. I think it's part of the narrative. Is it part of what really took place? Probably not, in my opinion.
I don't know the layout of this complex or anything like that, but pushing on that door once or twice or banging on it to get in is not going to move that latch enough to get in. So there had to have been some commotion that someone around them may have been aware of, if that really happened.
I don't know. There's a lot of powerful people involved in this case.
Yeah.
And that's why we're saying 50 times to Tuesday that Sam has never been charged in this. We're not saying he's guilty of any of this. We're just saying this looks weird. Yeah, it looks extremely odd. Let's bring up the graphic of the stab of the knives in case anyone's never seen this before.
This is where I check out. I'm like, are you fucking kidding me?
This is what the suicide looks like of Ellen Greenberg. Is that a suicide?
No.
When I saw this for the first time when you sent it this morning, I could not believe it.
It's insane.
For anybody in the medical profession to sign off on this, that's all I'm going to say.
Yeah.
There's no words. There's no word. How could you stake your reputation? How could you put your reputation on the line and go, oh yeah, that was definitely a suicide?
Well, if you leave the district, the jurisdiction, and continue on elsewhere with your career, I guess, you don't have to worry about it after a while. But this is the case.
I'm not a medical professional. I mean, I'm a veterinary technician, but that's pretty sketchy. So I'm just going to say, okay.
Yeah. And the AG was recently confronted. What's his name? He's the governor of Pennsylvania now. Todd, look that up for me real quick, if you would. I just can't think of his name. He was the AG at the time. And there was a lot of looking in his direction of
Shapiro.
Josh Shapiro. There was a lot of looking in his direction of why did you sign off on it this way? Like, why did you not investigate this further? And Brian Anton of News Nation confronted him at like an elementary school a couple months ago in a press conference, asking why are we not looking at this deeper? And it was kind of an awkward moment. He was not expecting questions on this case at that moment in time. And the reaction was just a big bullshit reaction of, well, people just don't seem to want to accept the outcomes. I know the family is very hurt. The typical bureaucratic politician, very sad for the family, but some people just, it's hard to accept, what the findings are. And that's basically where he left it because he's going to probably try and run for president. And this is a really bad state to have on your ass if you don't you don't want it exposed or hurt your chances at the presidential run. So we'll keep screaming this because if you're willing to cover this up, you're also not qualified to be the president of the United States. Now, that doesn't say much about what we're dealing with right now, but still, I'm sorry. This is a red herring that will continue to follow you unless you'd like to do something about it, Josh.
I just cannot. No, well, of course the family is unhappy. Look at this. If this were a family member of mine and they try to tell me this person committed suicide, I would be losing my mind.
Here's the problem. Joshy allegedly has connections with the Goldbergs. Allegedly. Allegedly.
Interesting. I would think if you are heavily connected to a family that has a tragedy like this happen, you would make sure that things were thoroughly investigated.
You would, unless you don't want someone from that family going down for murder.
Allegedly. Just saying.
Yeah. Just in the odd possibility that evidence pointed in a direction like that. And if that's not the case, that's not the case. But there was only two people around. There was no signs of break-in from the outside. There was no footprints in the snow, like from an outside window or anything like that in an emergency escape. There was nothing. This happened inside.
Was everybody in the building questioned?
Yeah.
I mean, only murders in the building is a show on Hulu.
And look, if you're wanting to cover something up, there's ways you can get people not to talk too. Just because, you questioned everyone in the building doesn't mean you questioned everyone in the building or wrote it down if you questioned everyone in the building to what they said. That's why all these years later, Brian tracked down Enton, the guard. And he's the one just a couple of months ago who got the testimonial from him saying, it never happened. I was not there when he tried to break down that door. That is not the real story. You're getting this again from reporters. You're not getting it from investigators. It's taking reporters, it's taking the family to do the job of law enforcement that refused to do their job in the first place. That's why we exist. So everybody's like, oh, those are reporters. Well, guess what? If not, you're just going to have to go along with toe the line of the bullshit that the Philadelphia PD wants to spew out there. And if you like to believe that that's a suicide, then be my guest. Go ahead, believe the bullshit. But I think your common sense can tell you it's something else, allegedly. I don't know what Sam had to do with it. I think it'd be lovely if you were to say something. Maybe, I don't know. Or for this just to be looked at a little bit deeper. It's got to be a weird thing knowing that there's all this information about this case out there and to share a bed with a person that, I don't know, seems to have a lot of questions around them. It's got to feel weird. Unless you just never absorb that and you never take it in and you never think about it. That may be the case too. But there's just so many damn questions. And his story is his story. And until we hear any different, that's what's on the record. We'll have to see where this goes. There's another hearing again scheduled for later October, which will just keep punting this down the road, I'm sure. We'll investigate that. We'll say we're going to investigate that. Is there anything that's going to force us to investigate it? No, but we're going to say we're going to. That's what's been happening. And that's the latest. So that's the Ellen Greenberg case and where it sits right now. Earlier, actually, just last month, I had a chance to sit down and have a conversation with Eric Faddis, defense attorney. We dived into where this case was at the time. This was before the hearings that took place this last week. But here's a look at where this case is sitting. In just a few minutes after this, we'll come back with defense attorney Bob Motta from the podcast Defense Diaries. We're going to talk some Donna Adelson and also the latest in the Aaron Spencer case as well. Here's that conversation with Eric Faddis.
This is Hidden Killers with Tony Brueski. Here now, Tony Brueski.
Imagine your daughter is found stabbed 20 times, including deep wounds to the back of her neck. That's a stabbing. That's clearly not a suicide, right? The medical examiner first said homicide. Then, after a closed-door meeting with police, said suicide. No arrest, no suspect, no grand jury either. So you fight, you ask questions, you call officials, and for 14 years, all you get is redirected. It's like the infamous being on hold forever. Hang on 1 second while we transfer your call. You know, we all know that music, the one that haunts you in your dreams. Anyway, first the Philly DA recuses. Then the Attorney General takes over, only to kick it back to the DA's office, who then hands it off to another county. Each agency claims they can't move forward. No one wants the case. No one wants to admit it was mishandled. And all the while, your child's death certificate still says suicide. Today, we're unpacking the legal maze that has kept justice from the Greenberg family for over a decade. Former prosecutor and defense attorney Eric Faddis joining us to walk us through exactly how and why the system keeps failing, shifting, and stalling instead of acting. And Eric, I mean, this is a crazy case. I mean, this has been going on now 14 years, like we said. I mean, you've seen both the inside from a prosecution standpoint and defense. When a case like this gets handed off over and over and over again, what does that tell you as a legal insider on what the hell is going on here?
It tells me, one, that there is some information that might be exchanged behind closed doors that folks would certainly want to learn, because it's unusual. It's peculiar for those to have this sort of rotating group of prosecutors who all don't want this case. And on top of that, you want to think, if you're a parent and God forbid something like this happens, the coroner is going to be impartial and they're not going to be influenced by one side or the other. They're going to do their job objectively. And there's a strong concern that didn't happen here.
There's a lot of concern of what didn't happen here in this case. DA Larry Krasner recused himself early on. That handed the case to the Attorney General's office, but it sat there, and then years later it got passed back. Is there any legal justification for that? Or, I mean, how can something like this just simmer in limbo forever? There's never been a suspect named. Clearly there should have been, but we won't say that person's name on the air. But it never has happened. And despite evidence that exists to it, it just keeps going from place to place, with a lot of people being very well connected. And it's all in the ether now. This is not some hidden behind closed door thing. It's out there. And it's just still like, yep, this is how we do things.
Yeah, it's very concerning, and my understanding is the family even petitioned the court to reopen the investigation because there was no movement, because nothing was happening with their deceased daughter who died 14 years ago under very suspicious circumstances. The family was trying to get a new investigation into the death, and they seem to get some traction in the courts. And then, like you said, lo and behold, here we are at a snail's pace 14 years later, and we have really nothing to show for it on the investigative side and on the prosecution side. So a lot of eyebrows raised, a lot of folks are saying, what the heck is going on back there? Why is this thing tossed around from attorney to attorney, and no one will take accountability? No one will sort of move the ball at all.
And that's just the weird thing. I mean, Westchester County declined prosecution based on insufficient evidence. The criminal side effectively just flatlined. But with the original medical examiner just last year reversing the ruling from 2025. Now, it was a verbal reversal. It didn't officially change the actual ruling itself, but they said, yeah, that shouldn't have been that. Should that reopen the door alone? I mean, everybody saw that and went, okay, look, see, even the medical examiner is finally saying this should be a suicide. If you're an investigator, you would be, oh, well, maybe we should look at this sooner. Or maybe they should have always known that all along and just didn't want to have that be the reason of why they have to do their job. But I feel like this is far more than just any sort of laziness. This is systematic. This is targeted. There's a reason that certain holes are not being dug, and whatever is beneath that hole continues to burrow further.
You know, if a person was looking for a nefarious intent on the investigative side, they could certainly impute one reasonably based on how this thing has gone. And you know, that's one of the tragedies in the delay in this case over the course of years, is that as time goes by, you know, witnesses die or fall off or move, evidence becomes stale or is lost. Investigative reports sometimes can be lost. And so it becomes so much harder with each passing day to prosecute the case and try to find justice for this poor woman who couldn't have stabbed herself in the back of the neck, you know, and stabbed herself 20 times to by way of suicide. No one in their right mind believes that.
I mean, and is that the problem? I mean, is that the problem, and was that the plan all along here when we look at this with 14 years of hindsight of perspective? Was this, let's get this off the rails. Let's get this to a place where, yeah, you know, evidence comes and goes, or things aren't maintained or kept that could be used, and people forget things, and 14 years changes memories and minds. And if you can go just long enough, the person who we're covering for it can get away with it. That kind of feels like this is, I guess the question is, why are we covering for someone? I mean, or why is government allegedly covering for someone? We know that there's a fairly high-powered family where possibly the suspect comes from. and very, very well connected. And maybe that's the answer right there. It's more so a favor, not necessarily, well, we really like that dude. He seems like a really nice guy or gal or whoever it might possibly be. But is this more so like a favor for the family, if you will, if we're speaking all in alleged, we're completely speculating here type terms?
Yeah, I mean, if that were the case, it would make sense to kind of try to sweep things under the rug, say, oh, this was a horrible thing, and now we're going to move on, and let's not talk about it too much, and hope that dirt under that rug is not uncovered in some sense. Certainly, there are concerns of corruption. There are concerns of dereliction of duty on behalf of the government officials, and questions about the ties that those folks could have to other persons of interest within the case. And I think when someone looks at the initial finding of 20 stab wounds, including to the back of the neck, and the government saying this is suicide, the alarm bells go off, and they're like, wait a sec, people want to know more. And so that's why there has been a renewed interest in this case, even after more than a decade. But is it too little, too late? It might be.
I mean, that's the question. I mean, dereliction of duty, sure, but that's not necessarily breaking the law. It seems like, really, for the most part, everyone has operated within the legal confines of the rules of the game, for lack of a better term, and have used those rules of the game to their benefit, even when kind of stretching them out in places where, one may go, that might not be ethically right, but it is legally okay. It feels like a lot of that has gone on in this case, and a lot of political motivation as well. I mean, this is a politically, I guess, somewhat risky case. I really don't quite understand why it's a politically risky case, because I think anyone who looks at this case is pretty much like, yeah, she was stabbed. I don't see how that goes from a Republican to Democrat type view. Anyone I've ever seen it, I don't know that there's any crowd that has ever looked at this case that said, yeah, it was suicide. I'm pro-suicide on this one. It just doesn't, they're not out there. So why it's politically risky, I don't know. I would think it might be more politically risky by who you might be pissing off higher up that may have some connections to the actual suspect, or should be suspect in this case, that has never actually been named a suspect, rather than the actual public itself and those repercussions. I don't know. I'm trying to figure out what makes sense here. Might be more grave than even what you would have from public perception.
Yeah, and Tony, you make a good point in terms of, folks allegedly serving their own interests in the investigation, but staying just inside those guardrails, just inside those legal parameters, but still kind of finessing that system. One illustration of that in this case is where the coroner initially determines that this was a homicide because, 20 stab wounds to the back of the neck. Seems obvious. But then the police meet with the coroner, and the court changes the conclusion to suicide. Now, there's nothing unlawful about the police meeting with the coroner. That happens routinely in death cases in Colorado, where I practice, and elsewhere. If they were exerting some kind of influence to cause the coroner to testify falsely, that's one thing. But it kind of just seems like there was some conversation and maybe some assertions, and that those folks kind of all got on the same page. For what purpose? Is it some malicious purpose? That's a question on a lot of people's minds.
And incompetence quite often can masquerade as malevolence. And that's another angle to this that I'm wondering about, because again, it's all allegation. We are just speculating here. If it's not the first thing we talked about of covering for some sort of powerful family or person or whatever it may be, if we're going to go down that road, let's go down the other road. Is it covering for just a really shitty investigation of people who didn't do their job right, who didn't clear this crime scene and investigate it effectively? I mean, literally, there's so many things that were screwed up on this case from day one with very, very bad investigative work that totally compromised the case. Is it more of that? Is it more of, we don't want to get sued? They already are being sued. But maybe originally preventatively, we don't want to be sued. We don't want to look incompetent. So let's just keep bouncing this around here internally within our infrastructure. And no one's going to get it out there because legally we don't have to technically do anything with it. We can just say this and keep it in our camp until you can't. But they seem to have been able to keep it in their camp and not have to go where they should go with it to protect themselves. Even with the public outrage and the outcry, they still are like, nope, here's how we're keeping it. Is it a saving face effort more than it is covering up effort?
Well, without question, there were errors in the investigation that, like you said, compromised the ability to even prosecute this case early on. And on top of that, whenever you have a death case, you have a young woman who has 20 stab wounds, there's pressure. There's a lot of pressure on law enforcement, on the coroner, on everyone else to sort of get this right. And perhaps if they realize, oh, we totally screwed that up. We didn't get it right at all. And now we sort of, what's a good way to get that heat off of us? Well, let's ride the horse that this was a suicide. And that sort of absolves the prosecutorial arms of their duties and obligations when it comes to pursuing potential homicides, because it wasn't a homicide. And so if they wanted to cover up their own incompetence, this would be a way to do it.
We see so much of that, and I wonder how long this will remain a mystery. Or if it will forever. Her parents continue to fight the system. They continue to fight for justice for her, and we'll keep covering it. And I'm not going to play it right here, but if anybody is curious or just discovering this case and want to know a little bit more, go listen to the 911 call. Just take a little listen and tell me what you think in the comment section of this video. Eric Faddis, defense attorney, former prosecutor. As always, thank you for coming on and giving us your insight.
Want more on this case and others? Then press subscribe now and don't miss a moment of true crime coverage from Tony Brueski and the Hidden Killers podcast. This is Hidden Killers Live with Tony Brueski, Stacy Cole, and Todd Michaels.
All right, switching gears now over to Donna Adelson. Of course, we've been watching this case like crazy and digging into all of the nooks and crannies of where this case has been and where it is going. Defense attorney Bob Mata, host of the podcast Defense Diaries, joining us. You've been watching it. I know you've been running it live over on Defense Diaries. Let's just get to it. What was it like the moment they said, Donna, you're guilty, and the Bob, I want to see you do an impression of that. Like, give me your best Donna. Give me your best Donna. You were found guilty, Donna.
It was something like
that was great.
Along the lines of that. For me, as you said, we watched the entire trial. It was expected. I mean,
of course.
They put forth a very strong circumstantial case. There was no way that Donna was going to be able to take the stand and be able to explain away the consciousness of guilt stuff that happened after the fact. And I just was of the mindset going into that trial, because you always kind of look at it from an attorney's perspective. You say, okay, if this was my client, and the lawyers for the defendants know what, they're not being surprised. They know what the evidence is going to be leading into trial. So that's when you sit down with your client and you say, look, all right, they've already gotten Charlie on this. That's going to come in at this trial. They've already gotten convictions on, the two hitmen and Katie, and that's coming in a trial. So they're able to build this narrative that is damn near impossible to overcome. And then when you pepper in the actual evidence that they have, and when you look at it, if I were to write it on a piece of paper, the 3 or 4 things that I think that got her convicted, and I slid it over to you and I said, hey man, you think we should try to prosecute this person? And you looked at that alone, just those 4 things, you'd probably like, thin man. But when you have the entire backstory by way of the way that Georgia was able to knock these dominoes down in succession to where you have that and you know what's coming in at trial, it then becomes a very, very powerful case because you really need all of that backstory to give context of why these 3 or 4 seemingly little things in terms of just a text of a few words, of a bump and her making a call and her texting Charlie, like all those things just on their own without that backstory may have been a tougher case, but that wasn't what we were dealing with here. So ultimately, you think about the conversations that may have been taking place between Donna's lawyers and Donna about, well, do you want to take this to trial? I mean, if you're a good attorney, you're giving your client the honest evaluation of their case and what their likelihood of success is at trial based on bad facts. You can look and say, these are very bad facts. I don't know. This isn't a silver-tongued issue where we're going to be able to talk your way out of it. And, yes, we can give some kind of alternate explanation of why maybe you were trying to go to Vietnam on a one-way ticket. And, maybe we can explain away with context clues that push people the other way on some of the things that you said. Maybe we can attack the fact that they can't really geolocate you. However, we have this huge problem of you texting Charlie saying I'm outside.
Do you think that's how that conversation went though with Tom Petty?
No.
I mean, do you think I'm kind of picturing more of my kids don't even call me anymore, and I don't get to see them, and they're accused after all I've done for them, after all those winnings I made on Wheel of Fortune years ago. Pat Sajak even said, "You are a good mother." Pat said I was a good mother. Vanna looked me in the eye and said, You are a shining star. I wish I looked just like you. I wish I just looked like you. Tom, what do you think I should do? Well, I think you should do exactly what you've been wronged. Those kids, they I know they don't call, do they? They just don't call. They don't call. I'm going to bring that up.
We've lost Tony.
More like how it went. I don't think it was the calm, collective conversation like you were describing, where it's like, maybe we could go this way, maybe we go that way.
Yeah, and for the record, it's Tom Spade. She's definitely the love child of David Spade and Tom Petty.
You've been saying Tom Spade. I've been feeling Petty.
Yeah. No, man. Yeah, that's true. From Donna's perspective, she has little to no motivation not to go to trial.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, for her, it was always going to be, I'm going to roll the dice. I think in her warped mind, there's this kind of element of a Lori Vallow type narcissism that exists with her, to where I think that she had fooled herself because of the passage of time in terms of when they finally arrest Charlie and they get him convicted. Like, I think that she had convinced herself that they really didn't hire somebody to kill Dan Markel. Like, I honestly do. I think that whatever Charlie was working out with Katie and getting the hitmen secured, that Donna was basically absolving herself of any of that in her mind by, supplying the money. And I didn't make any of these plans. Like whatever Charlie was doing, and he said he needed some money.
So, and according to the rules of Donna in her mind, the Donna rules say, well, just because you're signing the checks doesn't mean you killed him. That just means you're signing a check to an employee of Charlie. It's Charlie's business. I don't know. So she keeps telling herself there's all these layers of insulation between me and this, even though you're signing the checks to the person who got the hitman involved.
Exactly. That is the definition of a conspiracy. So, it's literally when you are a part of it and your part of it is to pay the money, where you might as well be pulling the trigger. It's the exact same thing. So, yeah.
Well, it's a vast amount of fraud going on here. I mean, at some point, the IRS is going to have a say in this as well. Like, you're paying somebody for work and they're not working. They didn't do any work for you. So there's this whole implication of what's coming next, other than the fact that somebody's dead.
I would imagine the IRS would have already gone through this, wouldn't they, at this point? Or because I mean, none of that gets disclosed. It's not like, oh, the IRS is investigating you, and that's never going to be public unless you want to make it public. But I would imagine at some point they were looking at the finances here, and that had to be some point. I don't know. I mean, because the story's not done by the time the IRS gets involved. If they haven't yet, there's not going to be a whole lot of money left, I'm guessing. But there's so much more to come on this case, it seems. But before we get to that of what's coming ahead for the Adelson family, the reactions of Donna throughout the case, obviously being in a courtroom, you're a defense attorney, that the image that your client presents is very important to a jury. It's not just about the argument and the words that are being said aloud. Obviously, the way those are being said matter, but the perception of the client to the jury means a lot. They threw a cardigan on her, and that was about it. I mean, were they that stupid? Were they that inept and that dense to how she was coming across to that jury? Or do you think Tom Spade there thought, you know what, I can't control this woman. She's going to do what she's going to do?
No, I think that there was probably a lot of discussions that took place between her attorneys in terms of how they wanted her to look for that trial. So it was the cardigan, kind of the Marshall's shirt that she had underneath, and then the must hair. The must hair, like it was those three components together that they were trying to roll out the sweet old granny type deal. So as opposed to, you look at Donna. I mean, they're a well-to-do family, or they were. And you look at her prior to them starting to get arrested. Yeah. Before that all started to take its toll, she came across as a sophisticated, well-to-do woman in terms of how she appeared. And in this particular type of case, where you have this story, this theory by the state that, look, this was a very well-off family. This was a woman who was absolutely obsessed with getting her grandchildren to where she could see them at will. And she was really the matriarch of the family in the sense that she continued to be able to manipulate her children long into adulthood. I think that they came to the conclusion, if we're going to have any shot here, we can't have any semblance of that Donna, the sophisticated, well-tailored, hair's done properly, makeup, they had to try to go with, we're going to roll in the sweet granny for simply sympathy's sake. For nothing else.
And even that didn't work. I mean, even that didn't come across as sweet grandma. I mean, she came across as like vile and just gross.
She can't do it. She can't be sweet grandma. But the ironic thing is, Tony, when you hear her with her grandchildren and some of these like overhears, and that the kids are, she was a very loving grandmother. I mean, like those two things aren't necessarily mutually exclusive.
Sure.
Right. I mean, she can obviously, and I'm sure she does and always has, like, completely adored her grandchildren. And I think that, she was able to emote that to them throughout the course of their lives. But then when you try to balance it against not just the fact that they're murderers, right? But that goes without saying. But when you try to reconcile the fact of, okay, you've got a woman who, by all accounts, loves the hell out of her grandchildren, would do anything for them, right?
Yeah.
Is so short-sighted that she doesn't understand at the moment in time that if they do what they're thinking and talking about doing, that it is going to destroy those two boys' lives in a way that nothing else on the planet could. Like for them, or for all of them to be that blind in terms of the impact on those kids is what really disgusts me more than anything else.
Yeah.
Because if you if you just break it down to brass tacks, and this case was really about them just trying to get the kids down to South Florida, and they'll get over Dan being gone. Like, I mean, just the ability for them to be able to block out anything that was commonsensical about, well, what happens if we get caught?
Yeah.
Like, how is that going to affect these kids? How is it going to affect the kids that their father's not only been killed, but likely that all of us are going to go to prison, and they have to operate in society? Because, I mean, look, we could go into just the shitty things that they did with respect to changing the boys' names right after Dan's murdered.
Sure.
I mean, they just did so many awful things that it's impossible to feel any kind of sympathy for them. But what I always go back to is that point that I just made, that like, how can any rational person sit there and either block out or be completely unaware of how it's going to impact those two boys growing up?
I think that's the answer is she's not a rational person. I mean, she's just, her cognitive distortions are mind blowing, just how crazy they are. And I'll say this, I don't think she adores her grandchildren. I think she adores being adored by her grandchildren. And I think because Donna lives in this blinder world where she's just, what I'm going to do, I'm going to do. And everything else on the side effects, everything that's going to catch up with you, she's not seeing over here. But she knows that this narrow path that she's going on and she's always lived her life by isn't getting the input that she used to from her children. She doesn't quite have the pull and that she used to on her kid, the control that she used to over Charlie and over Wendy and certainly not Robert. And she's probably missing that a little bit. So that also then I think feeds into this need of, I need these grandkids near me because this is fresh meat. These are new kids that she can control, which she was trying to do. And this is where you get her going into such extremes of trying to talk about dressing them up in Hitler Youth costumes to piss off their Jewish father. Yeah. I mean, that's just insane. It's so far off the beaten path of healthy, normal behavior. Donna is just so far out there. I don't think Donna... I get it. On tape, you can hear, she sounds like an adoring grandmother. It's not about that. It's about getting that feed, that fresh meat from those kids that she's taking in. Oh, this is making me feel good. This is making me feel good. And she would go to any length to get it. And obviously, it didn't end up well.
Yeah, no, and I agree with all of that. But again, I think that two things can exist at the same time. You know what I mean? Just in terms of, because a child isn't going to know whatever underlying motive that person of authority that is a guardian or, a grandparent or a parent, they don't know what their motive is in their mind because we're not mind readers. So ostensibly, when you look at it on its face in terms of how she treated the children, and I'm sure she spoiled them, from until the chickens come home to roost and the kids are now exposed to what she and others have done, I think until that line in the sand was drawn, they probably wouldn't have known just exactly how manipulative she was. Because I think you're right. I think she viewed them as next up, next man up. Like, okay, so my kids they're finally starting to pull away in their 40s, but now I've got the grandkids and I can get I can get my claws into them and be able to kind of navigate them through life. And, she was like, my nickname for the woman was the meddler, man. Like the Batman villain, because that's exactly what she is she was a meddler with just deadly consequences. There's plenty of mothers and fathers out there that meddle in their kids' lives. That can be certainly very annoying to their children. And, as dutiful kids, they may not say anything in terms of, hey, like you gotta stay out of my shit. You take it. They're your parents. And you can always hang up the phone, and then you're not going to be with them. You know what I mean? So there's always.
I wish it was that easy.
Yeah.
It is that easy.
I mean, it can be. It can be. Obviously, the other big red flag other thing that's still, hanging off here are two more people. We got Wendy and we got Harvey and we got Georgia saying, stay tuned.
Yeah.
Let's start with Wendy. What new things came out in this trial, in this round, that may, push the everything over the edge for her, where they may end up going after her and charging her? Do you think there was enough that pushes it that far, or did they even need anything to come out in trial? They've just been sitting on it, waiting for this to wrap up.
I mean, it could be all those things. Like, honestly, there were definitely some new things that came in. I mean, even if you go to Luis Rivera, and in his testimony, I mean, his statement on the stand in this trial was different. I mean, he firmly hung it on Wendy. Which I'm sure Wendy didn't appreciate Donna's attorneys eliciting on the stand. Because she knew because she had the transcript. She had deposed him, so she knew that he was going to say that. And then you just had some other damning text messages come in. You have, there's things that came in that I think are going to be able to be used against her that aren't going to fall under the immunity deal that she has, which is use immunity and derivative use immunity. And, I've always been pessimistic about whether or not they had enough on Wendy alone, but it's always kind of been my theory, and it's the same thing that happened with Donna, is the fact that they now have the two hitmen, they have the go-between, they have the brother who set it up, and they have the mother who paid for it. That's all part of this narrative in a case against Wendy, and it's incredibly powerful, because the hardest thing for people to even try to reconcile, to get them to buy the concept that there could be a world in which Wendy exists and she has no fucking clue what these people are doing. Like, I get in the debates, and I love devil's advocating that side of it. It's like, like my buddy Jay, he's like obsessed with Wendy Adelson. And, but I'm like, from the defense attorney's perspective, these are the ways that I would tack these things. But when you have the way, like I said, when Georgia knocks down the dominoes and you have that backstory, and then again, you slide in these pieces of evidence, because her driving by the crime scene at a seemingly really inconvenient, inopportune time for Wendy, if you're worried about being arrested down the road, is damning. The fact that she's changing the kids' names, the fact that you have Lacoste, which to me was one of the bigger smoking gun things, talking about her pulling the art down 4 days before the hit takes place. It's like those types of things, again, in and of themselves alone, if I were to write them down on a piece of paper and said, hey, Tony, you think we should go prosecute this woman based on this evidence? You'd probably say, well, can we get more?
Well, I agree, but I wonder if Georgia has some more things under her sleeve that we don't know about yet. I would imagine so.
I'm sure,
because there's so many things you look at here, and you just, with what's out there, you're kind of left with, Wendy knew something was going to happen that day. That feels like a pretty sure bet to me, that Wendy knew something was going to happen that day. What exactly was going to happen that day, I don't know that we know the answer to. Maybe George does. But as far as everything that's come out, it always kind of ends about there. She certainly, the way she was arranging plans, the way she was canceling trips, all of that, everything points to she knew something was going on. But what did she know was going on? And that's going to be the part that they're going to have to try and prove if, in fact, they do charge Wendy. Do you think charges are imminent?
Stacy, what do you think?
Thanks, Bob. My question is, what kind of immunity do you think she's been granted? Because she's shown up in every one of these trials, has she not?
Yeah.
So to me, I feel like, and I'm not in the legal field, but I feel like they've come to her and said, we've got some shit on you, girl. You got to talk.
So
how does that work? Can you explain that part?
Yeah, they have they've given her in each of the trials what they call use immunity, and use immunity is essentially that anything that she testifies to at trial cannot be used against her in terms of trying to convict her. So, and what derivative use immunity is say that she said something on the stand that was new. All right. That Georgia's like, oh, wow, that's new. And then that particular piece of information leads them to something else in terms of evidence. That is derivative of what she testified to. So they wouldn't be able to use that either. So, but like the main things, but Georgia's very, very smart.
Yes.
And she tailors her direct examinations of Wendy very, very carefully. And what she does is she has Wendy get up there and say these things so that, because Georgia doesn't care if she's going to go after Wendy, Wendy can get up on the stand and lie all day. And Georgia, frankly, loves that because that is sworn testimony when and if she arrests Donna and they're going to take her to trial. Everything she then testified to in all of the prior proceedings that are a lie can come in. Okay, so that like the lies are not covered by use immunity. So like that kind of thing is just, she's played this, and it's such a difficult case in terms of Wendy because they really don't have that kind of smoking gun. They have some incredibly powerful and compelling evidence when you put it together in terms of the puzzle, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I mean, there's just some things with her that if you were to ask me, do I think that at this point in time that Georgia would be able to convince a jury that Wendy was absolutely a part of this? Yes, I do. I really do. And I was not there prior to Donna's trial. But as she keeps building these convictions up and just keeps fleshing out the full narrative, and just like little factoids, new factoids come out in every trial. And like you said, Tone, we have no idea what she knows about, because what she knows about Wendy and her involvement, because that kind of stuff doesn't come in at these trials.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know how much she has been able to gather. Obviously, when she gets Donna's phone post arrest, and we heard her say it, her being Georgia, talking about when they got Donna's phone, that they were able to get some of these WhatsApp discussions. So Georgia knows what she has.
Yeah.
And she knows exactly, what she needs to get this done. And she's probably going to take a breather. I mean, she knows at this point, Wendy's got the kids. She's not going to be able to go anywhere without the world knowing about it. Like, sure. Wendy is under the microscope. So in terms of Georgia handling her other cases that she's got, because Georgia's a busy prosecutor, she doesn't just have the Adelson case. She's got tons of cases that she has to deal with. So, and you earmark that much time, and I'm sure she's consulting with the Markells,
Sure.
And she's telling Ruth, she's like, look, like what is your time frame on this? I mean, are you good if I wait a year? Because everybody's like, oh, as soon as the trial's over, they're going to arrest her. I'm like, you just don't understand how this business works. It's like Georgia's a very, very busy person. She's got many, many cases on her dockets. It can't, and the office is only so big.
Yeah, I mean, unless Wendy tries to flee, I don't think it's necessarily going to be this week. Is I don't remember a lie?
How do you remember lies?
That, because obviously that was half of her testimony.
No. Some people are very, very good at remembering lies. I got a family full of them.
I mean, but they're always going to make a mistake. Like they might be able to remember like a big lie. I'm like, oh yeah, I didn't do this or I didn't do that. Fine. But when it's a lie where the devil's in the details, no one's that good at it.
Yeah.
No one. I mean, you know what I'm saying, Stacy? You can, like, if it's a big lie, yeah, all right, you can remember that. But when it is a a lie that has details to it and can be picked apart, and you start digging in on it, people just are not good with detailed lies.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard to remember it all.
So to all of the things that Wendy said, I don't remember to on the stand, can that be looked at, or could certain things be looked at as a lie? If they can go back and go, well, look, you said right here, you knew the answer to this question, but on the stand, I mean, I could have said something last week and I don't remember I said it, and I could say I don't remember. And I could honestly be saying I don't remember saying that, right, even though you have evidence that I did. Is that then a lie, though, if you don't remember it when you're being directly questioned about it?
Only if you can impeach her on it that she actually did know the answer. Mm-hmm. You know, but like time-wise, it has to be more current in time, because I think that there is absolutely a possibility that 11 years ago, shit that was going down that she doesn't remember.
Sure. Yeah, legitimately.
You know?
Yeah.
So, you know, I mean, I can barely remember. Like, if you were to ask me what I ate last Tuesday, there's not a chance in hell that I'd be able to remember it. Now, the counter to that is, okay, well, Bob, you weren't, you know, in the commission of having somebody murdered. So, like, that was just a nondescript thing that you did. But I mean, the one thing to me that is somewhat evident is that whatever involvement that Wendy had in this conspiracy, that she certainly wasn't a major player in it in terms of the planning. That seemed to be taken care of by her loving brother and her loving mother. And, you know, so I think that there's this aspect of, because I hope we're going to get into some Jeff LaClasse thing. Like, some people are like of the mindset that, like, Jeff, they really like this, that she was trying to set him up as the patsy type thing. And I know Jeff believes that, but and I believe a vast majority of what Jeff says, but I also am cognizant of the fact that Jeff is a man scorned, you know, so you have to factor that in a little bit. Do I think that he was so scorned that he's going to go in there and make shit up? Absolutely not. But do I think that skews the way that he's observing things because he was hurt by her?
Sure.
Yes, of course. Yeah, I mean, things like she took the pictures down.
What blows me away about the whole idea that they were going to try and frame Jeff for the murder of where were you that day and all that, it just seems so short-sighted. Now, I mean, keep in mind, these are the people who put money in the washing machine with Tide Pods. So anything is possible. They don't seem like the wisest bunch of folks. But if you're going to go and commit a murder, I would think you're going to kind of have your alibi plan or your scapegoat or who you're going to blame for this when people come questioning you. If you're going to say anything, and it's not just going to be, well, it turns out your boyfriend drove by there the other day, let's just say he did it. I mean, that just seems to be the thick of what their alibi was going to be if they could have gotten the attention over to Jeff LaCasse. Yeah,
I mean, that's where my problem is with the whole Jeff LaCasse thing. It's like it's either the shittiest alibi of all time. I can't make it.
But they laundered money in the washing machine.
Yeah, like, I mean, she's a very literal woman, Tony. She takes everything literally. But like, for the LaCasse thing, I mean, how does it? So he's supposed to be traveling out of town, and they're trying to just coordinate it. They think that it's going to be enough at any point in time that he just happened to be in the area of where this thing went down.
Stupid.
Stunningly stupid. And what's his motive?
Yeah.
She's already divorced from Dan. Dan already he's in a different relationship with a different woman. Like what about the situation in and of itself makes Wendy, Charlie, and Donna think that the cops would think that he was a person of interest, aside from him being in town?
I 1000% agree with you. But these are also the people that think no one's going to be the wiser when she's running money through the washing machine, signing 44 checks. all the bump, everything, the litany of shit that you're like, well, this is obvious shit. Like, come on. Like, if you're going to do this, let's at least not, completely, put ourselves out there and show our guilt. There's so much of it. I mean, it's stunningly stupid, but they have been stunningly stupid throughout this entire thing.
Dude, I mean, everybody says that, and it's true, but it's really, really hard to get away with a crime like this.
Yeah.
I mean, yes, dude, it's like easy for us to all.
Oh, sure. I'm sure it's
Monday morning quarterback.
It's like they didn't even try. It just feels like they didn't even try. It's like
they got away with it for 2 years before they were able to figure out the rental car situation. And then there's a long, long passage of time where they kind of, in their minds, because when you listen to the bump shit and you're listening or you're reading, either the text or the conversations between Charlie and Donna after the bump happens, and you're sitting there and Charlie's it takes him a half an hour to fucking for it to even dawn on him that his mother's talking about this thing that happened with Dan.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? When you're listening to, because you can read it when they were showing the transcripts of it, where he the light goes off in his head. I mean, they were just, I think that they honestly thought that they had somehow gotten away with this.
Well, the investigation, yes, it certainly did take a long time to get from where they started to where they are today. But is that a reflection because the Adelsons were that good, or is that because the investigation was that slow or that bad? Or did it have the resources that it needed to make this move faster? I mean, what is it a reflection of, really?
I certainly don't think it's a reflection on a bad investigation. I mean, this is, frankly, cases are hard to solve. You know what I mean? Like this is where we're not talking about movies here where shit's every click. They essentially had to be able to figure out, in terms of using the video of when Dan is driving around, and they're able to pinpoint this fucking Prius.
Yeah.
And they're like, all right, because really that was it. Because they talk to everybody initially. They're obviously in the way that victimology works when they're investigating a crime, they start always from the inner circle and work their way out in concentric circles. I mean, they're always going to, because usually you're killed by somebody
Sure.
So they're always going to start in there. So in terms of the investigation, I thought that they did amazing work.
Yeah.
And I can't tell you how much I love the concept of the bump, because it's exactly what that is. We're giving this thing a little bump. We need to get these fucking people talking about this case again. Yeah. And it was really an ingenious way to entrap them into talking about this case. With one another. They needed too much time had passed, and that was such a little, you could have called it the nudge. Right. I'm like, wait, are they doing key bumps of cocaine? What's going on? I think that it was ultimately just a case that they needed to investigate, and it was going to take time. And then once they got Luis, once they were finally able to figure out who rented that car, which is a lot of legwork. You're watching all the videos from all the businesses and all the areas that Dan was driving. You have you're writing down and you're trying to see what type of car it is. You're doing your best to try to figure out the year, make, model, all that shit in otherwise pretty grainy videos. And then at that point, you're going to do what they always do, which is go to rental car companies. If you've got a situation where you're thinking, all right, this appears to be random in the sense that we don't think that any of the family members are the ones who pulled the trigger. I don't think that Jeff was ever actually on their radar at all. I think that he was a person that they wanted to talk to for various reasons, but I think he was checked off the list very, very quickly after his interview. So at that point, they're thinking, all right, you know, and like Wendy's shit in her interview, we're like, yeah, there could be a lot of people who want to kill Dan, like anybody you may give an F to in law school, or, you know, and you can't dismiss it. I mean, I had a client named Anthony Garcia that was fired from his his residency in law and medical school, and he came back. He's convicted of coming back and killing 7 years later, killing the two people that fired him. So people do fucking insane things. So I mean, I guess in their minds, but eventually you land on, we're going to go to all the rental car companies. We're going to find out which ones had Priuses or vehicles that looked very similar to it and are similar in color, and get a list of all the people that rented those vehicles. So, I mean, they had a lot of legwork to do, and they did it well. And, you know, the problem is that for some of the early conversations, you're just never going to get them because they're just not going to exist anymore. You're not going to have the devices to be able to do the extractions, and it predates like everything going up into the cloud the way that it does now. You know what I'm saying? Like there was no way they were going to be able to get back the potential smoking gun stuff that was taking place at the time when they were trying to get it done. Because I mean, at that point, all they had was really Wendy's phone.
Yeah.
You know, and we all know that Wendy was at least smart enough to stay the fuck out of the fray in terms of the conversations. So I don't.
What we know, although is there more back there?
That's what I mean. It's what I mean. But if there was.
And that's my question, because there's a lot of people that are going on this case, and they could be completely wrong. I'm not particularly on this bandwagon, but I'm willing to hear them out. The order in which this has been going, you typically start, you know, the way that they did, and you're going to eventually get your kingpin. Was Donna the kingpin, or do they think Wendy is the kingpin in terms of value here? It was Wendy. Was Wendy more involved than we're all aware of, I guess, is the big question. And or was she not at all? Is this just now going to be collateral damage at this point, and the kingpin already has been taken down, and, well, we have enough to go after her now if they do?
A few of our viewers, you guys, a few of our viewers have really been pounding that Wendy is the kingpin here, that she has been the mastermind of this entire
Thus far, we don't have the evidence that shows that, but I'm not going to say it's not out there.
Yeah, look, the one thing that we know is Georgia knows all the evidence that they have.
Yeah.
You know, and I think for Georgia, some of the bigger things that came up from post-arrest of Donna was the fact that they got their hands on Donna's phone, right? So, because that was a thing that they didn't have. And to me, if they're looking at, all right, what is the best order of these cases? Because that's a part of it in terms of post-arrest collection of evidence. They have a much better opportunity to continue to collect evidence against Wendy post-arrest of the other two, because that's when they're going to get their hands on their devices. That's when they're going to maybe see things. They're going to be able to effectuate search warrants. They're going to be looking for additional clues. So to me, that was the only reason that they went in the order they did, is because they're still trying to build the case against Wendy. And they knew that they had enough against these two in order to get them under arrest, to be able to continue the investigation into both of these two after they're arrested, because it's just a different circumstance than when you're investigating somebody pre-arrest. You know, there's parameters. You know, once you get them arrested, your searches of their houses, their devices, of everything is a foregone conclusion when you're walking in front of a judge trying to get a warrant. The judge is going to grant it, and you're going to hopefully derive more evidence. So to me, that was always the reason that they went in this order, that they felt like, again, if you're writing what they have, what we know that they have against Wendy down on a piece of paper, and you're looking at it and you're saying, well, is it enough? You're probably like, well, we could use a little more meat on it. You know, so like you have the two things that happen. You have now the story has really been fleshed out for the jury in Wendy's trial in terms of, okay, this is how it went down. Charlie, Donna's does it matter if who's the mastermind? There's no question.
At the end of the day, no,
No, I mean, because there's no question Wendy got the biggest benefit. No matter what anybody said, Wendy got the biggest benefit of this happening. Like, she was able to move wherever she wanted. She had her kids 100% of the time.
She just kids don't call me anymore. They just okay. So the meat is there. So they need to have enough meat on the plate. So they've gone to the old country buffet. They filled it up with a little bit of this, a little bit of ex-boyfriend, a little bit of Donna, a little bit of this. Is there enough meat on the plate now for a grand jury indictment of Wendy, in your opinion?
I think so.
Yeah,
I think so. I think, and again, George is going to have the conversation with Ruth Markel, and she's going to say, like any of these cases, I can never make a guarantee that we're going to get a conviction, but are you good with me going after her? And Ruth is, of course, going to say yes, of course.
Yeah.
And with the understanding that I don't want you to be crushed or upset if we can't get the conviction on it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like I thought just objectively that Wendy, this was her worst performance out of the trials that I've seen her. Like, she's getting worse on the stand.
And you know what? And what really pushed me over the edge on Wendy, because I was always like, I don't know, like I could see where she's in this situation with a narcissistic, enmeshed, controlling family. Sometimes you got somebody on the outside that is just at the mercy of whatever the hell these people are going to do. Even if they think it's for your benefit, they're going to do horrible things. I can see that. There are dynamics, there are families where that does exist. So I was kind of like, I don't know. What really pushed me over the edge was the victim impact statements from the Markels.
Yeah.
And that was the thing where these grandparents, and look, there's plenty of reasons as a parent to not let certain grandparents see their grandchildren if they deserve that, because they've been shitty human beings and you don't trust them and all that. I'm not saying every grandparent has a right to see their grandkids. They don't. But there are cases where they certainly do, and where dad gets offed by the family and grandma's over here riffing about putting them into Hitler youth costumes and putting them in front of synagogues and shit. That's a little insane. And they only get to see their grandkids 3 times in the course of all of these years. They're still being held in the custody of the very family that offed dad.
It's crazy.
And I know, and Wendy's not charged, so obviously it's not like Wendy is holding them back. But the fact that they actually had to get legislation passed so they could see their grandkids. And the fact that Wendy sat there for all those years, and if she has absolutely nothing to hide and feels absolutely horrible that her children's father was executed in his driveway, you would think, hey, little extra time with grandma and grandpa. Get to know your family over there since dad's not around. But no, it was the exact opposite of that. That's where I'm like, all right, bitch, you're going down next.
Yeah. I mean, that is my big hang up too.
That ruined it for me on Wendy. It's like that and the Botox that made her look like a Disney villain.
Yeah. I mean, that and it's the concept of her refusing time to the 2 people that lost their son.
Yeah.
In terms of them being able to spend time with what's left of his legacy as his blood courses through their veins, is the most sinister, shitty fucking thing that I can think of anybody doing. And like that, for me, that was it. Like, is there any part of me that thinks that Wendy's not a giant flaming piece of shit? No. But that's a different evaluation than whether or not they have enough to get her. She is an awful, awful human being. I would not be even remotely capable. The thought, if something like that happened with my family, and there is no set of circumstances under which, if my wife even passed away, that I would be like, oh, well, my wife's not here now. I'm not going to have my in-laws, whether even if they were former in-laws, see their grandchildren. It's the concept of it, but I'm so family oriented and driven, and I can't even contemplate.
And you got good people around you. And the thing is, the Markels were good people. There was no reason to hold them back. There wasn't anything like, oh, they're abusive or saying crazy shit like dad's a bad guy and you're taking my sunshine away. No, that was the Adelsons that were doing that shit. The Markells were not doing that at all. They just happened to be Jewish, which it appears Donna's not a big fan of. And if we read the tea leaves enough and we look at Donna's behavior and the things that Jeffrey LaCase has testified to, and even more so back in his initial police questioning, there's so much that's revealed in there about Wendy's demeanor. Wendy's a mini Donna. I mean, she's a mini Donna, and I know that she's, and not that Donna is that crafty, but even less crafty. She was raised by her, so it's not shocking that Wendy is the way she is, because this is just what you get when you put those ingredients in the pie. So I'm not surprised Wendy acts the way that she does. But Wendy's an adult too. And at some point, you can come up in a family like that and go, you know what, this is really shitty. I need to realign myself, reground myself in who I want to be. I don't want to be like that. But Wendy has just dug in, it seems, this whole time. And well, mom's like that, brother's like this, and everything's great. Never did the self-reflection thing and tried to be a better human being like her brother Robert did.
I was just going to say that Rob got out. Keeping the kids away from the grandparents just speaks to how stupid they are. Because if you wanted to really get away with a crime, I would think you would be acting as if and let the grandparents see the children.
100%.
I mean, be smart about this. I would
look a lot less suspicious. Exactly.
It would look like, no, we want them to be part, of their lives because that's family. Mm-hmm. No, they took a knife and they cut him right out of their lives. Like, he's gone, he's done. That's what we wanted. We got what we were looking for.
Yeah. I mean, the things that they did and said and didn't do with respect to Dan Markel and not showing up at the funeral.
That's one of the biggest.
Right. It's like, Stacy, it's exactly what you're saying. I mean, do you want to paint a bigger target on your own stupid ass by not even showing up? Everything that they could have done from just even a humanity perspective.
Yes. Right.
Without even trying to be criminal masterminds, just shows you just how morally bankrupt these people are.
Completely.
Because you've got both things happening. Not only is it incredibly stupid in terms of trying to get away with the crime because it makes you look so obvious. Because this is not what normal people do.
Yeah.
Right.
That is not what normal people do. Normal people would be like, I would never cut off the relationship with all my kids in my wife's family ever, under any circumstance.
Yeah.
Ever. I would never, the whole thing is just,
it's insane. That's what I'm saying. There's so many stupid moves that were done here that are they defy decency. But when you have no decency and you have no empathy, you are then capable of carrying out plots like this.
Harvey's the question, though. What do you guys?
That's what I'm wondering, because Harvey was there the whole time. So at some point, you'd think if there was some humanity in Harvey, he'd be like, well, let them see their grandkids.
Right.
But Harvey doesn't. Harvey is, from everything we've garnered, he's so damn passive. He just kind of sat there. He made the money. He did his role to a certain extent, maybe emotionally empty in terms of stepping in and being a leader of some sort. That's just my 2 cents on it. But he did not. He did not lead that family in any sort of emotional way or any sort of direction that would make for a good example for his family that they could follow going forward. This is how good people act. It was, here's money, here's crazy mom. She's going to do whatever benefits her. And this is what you get. This is the product of that recipe. What did Harvey know? I don't know. And did Harvey even have a say in any of this, or was he just as aloof? If there's anybody that I could say maybe is just completely aloof, maybe it's Harvey. And it'd be shocking, but maybe he seems, when he was sitting there in court all those weeks, what was going through your mind about Harvey?
The perma frown.
Yes.
Yeah.
His origin story in this drove me nuts, because I kept thinking, and I kept having the discussion with Allison. I'm like, well, okay, Harvey is the one in terms of kind of being the patriarch as far as the finances. He built this business. He's got this dental practice that has done very well for their family, and Donna's going to be running around doing what Donna does. Now, I had grandparents wherein my grandmother was a very talkative, active gal. And, she was my favorite person on the planet. But my grandfather, probably, if I could remember all the conversations I ever had with him, probably said 50 words ever. He was not a talkative man. And my grandmother made up for that and then some.
And that's typically the dynamic with something like that.
Right. So like I've of course applying my own personal experiences when I'm thinking about what potentially was going on with this relationship. You've got the meddler doing her meddling, all involved in all the kids' shit. Harvey's just kind of floating around back there. Sometimes he'll get on and go, say a few things. And then Donna's back off to the races. If I think that Harvey caught wind of it, if there exists a world in which if he knew on the front end, because I think there's no question that he knew post.
Yeah.
He knew after the fact for certain. And I think that they could get him on some stuff for that. The question becomes, did he know what they were planning? Because I'd like to think that he would have been like to his wife, what in the fuck are you talking about doing?
That's what I'm wondering.
Are you like, you will destroy everything that we have worked so hard to build over some bullshit. But I mean, we just don't know what the dynamics of that relationship were. You know what I mean? It's like, because to me, it drove me nuts. Like if I was in his shoes, I'd be like, are you out of your fucking mind? We're absolutely not hiring a hitman to kill our former son-in-law. That is not happening. I'll buy you airfare I'll fly your ass up to Tennessee or Tallahassee every weekend. Now, like, we're not killing Dan Markel, Donna. Do you understand that? That's like, are you out? To me, it's just, but again, I don't know jack shit about that family and their dynamics.
Yeah, but and the same thing. I don't know either. But at the same point, even if that conversation had happened, do you think it would have stopped Donna?
Probably not.
Yeah,
probably not. And she was the bookkeeper for the business, and I imagine that she was probably the bookkeeper for the house. Yeah. So, do I think that there exists a world, and we know they got paid in cash quite a bit? I'm sure that Donna and Harvey had a war chest in their safe in their house, even though it looked little. Like that thing could have been packed with cash. And if Donna's the one handling the finances, she's not going to know. If like Harvey's not going and counting the money in the safe.
No,
on a daily basis. You know what I'm saying? Especially when he's at the advanced stage that he is. Like, so whenever he's in his 70s, like just 70, 69, 70, when this thing's all going down. But, do I see a world in which Donna could have like gotten that money out? But, they also strike me is like that old married couple that fucking do everything together. Like Harvey's the driver.
Yeah.
Like Donna can't drive, but
they're the couple that you see eating at the Applebee's that aren't speaking to each other.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
Like,
don't even make eye contact.
Anymore. Yeah.
They're like, mumbling to themselves.
Yep. Exactly. That's the, you're like, that's why I got a divorce, because I didn't want to be like that. So much in this case, and there's still so much that I'm sure we're not done with the Adelsons.
No.
My God. Bob Motta, defense attorney, the podcast Defense Diaries. Search it, YouTube, wherever you get podcasts, you can find it, and listen to him and his wife Allison's commentary on all of these cases as well. Always wonderful having you on and getting
love being here, brother. And hey, it's good to hang, Stacy.
Good to hang with you, Bob.
Welcome to our new atmosphere here with our Hidden Killers Live. This is how we do the show now. So.
I love it.
Yeah, no fun.
Great. Yeah.
All right, that's going to wrap up our program for today. Be sure to press subscribe wherever you get podcasts so you don't miss any of our coverage on this case or any of them that we're covering for you right here at the Hidden Killers Podcast and True Crime Today. And do comment on YouTube. Just search Hidden Killers with Tony Brueski to find us there. Until next time, for Stacy, Todd, Bob, everybody here, I'm Tony Brueski. We'll talk again real soon.
Want more on this case and others? Then press subscribe now and don't miss a moment of true crime coverage from Tony Brueski and the Hidden Killers podcast.